Hey there, happy Wednesday, everybody. I know you can't be happy asynchronous and all. You're missing your teachers. I get it. Yeah, we miss you too. Anyway, hopefully you are doing this in order. You first have integrity because you're doing the warm up like you should, but you're also hopefully doing it in order, doing this before you take the quiz. If not, you might recognize a couple of these questions from the quiz, and you're probably kicking yourself saying, oh, I should have done it like they asked me to do it, right? Anyway, you know the drill. Copy everything down, see how you do, come back for help if you need hints, or at the very least, come back at the end and check your answers and see if you got the same answers as me, okay? All right, see you in a bit. Okay, another fast bit there. All right, diamonds. What two numbers have a product of 63 and a sum of 16? That means you multiply to get 63 and you add to get 16. Well, 9 times 7 works there, right? How about 63 and 24? Yeah, that's a tough one, huh? Well, if I times this by 3 and divide this by 3, I get 21 and 3. And 3 times 21 is also 63. And 3 plus 21 is 24. Tricky, huh? Hopefully you figure that out. If not, you just figure out all of the factors of 63. You're going to have a limited number of choices here, right? All right, 2 won't go into it. 3 times 21 and 7 times 9, that's it. Those are your only choices unless you get into decimals or fractions. And since there's no decimals or fractions in either there, that would be odd. Not impossible, but odd. All right, I know 4 times 9 is 36. I'm going to try 4/10 and 900. I know when I go add those, you got to stack them and line up the decimal. Remember? And if that looks a little weird, add a 0. You're allowed to after the decimal. So when I add, I do get that. Remember when you multiply decimals, your first step is to pretend there's no decimal. Just multiply. So 4 times 9 is 36. But in order to pretend this was a 4, I had to move the decimal over 1 spot there. In order to pretend this was a 9, I had to move this decimal over 2 spots. That's a total of 3 spots in my problem. I have to go back 3 spots in my answer. And what do you do here? Fill in the egg carton, right? All right. 8 and 5 2/3. What's going to work there? I'll bet I stumped a lot of you on this one. This is a tough one. 3 plus 2 2/3 is 5 2/3. And 3 times 3 2/3. Remember, you can go 3 times 2 and get 6. And 3 times 2/3 is the same as 3 over 1 times 2/3. That's 6/3. And 6/3 is 2 whole pizzas, right? So 6 and 2 is 8. And we already figured out that works when you add. All right. What does of mean in math? Okay. If you don't know, get a Sharpie out and write it on your hand, right? Definitely have it in your composition book and commit it to memory. Put that on a flashcard if you're doing that instead of con minutes, right? Of means multiply. That will help you a lot on word problems. And you see that of, just right? I don't write times, write of, and then put an X through it because seeing those two things together reminds you what it means. Okay? All right, and multiply fractions is what? Easy, right? Say it loud, say it proud. So 15 on top, 32 on the bottom. Easy enough. Same thing here. 3 times 2 is 6. 8 times 3 is 24. Now, I don't know if you notice, I have a 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom, and 2 goes into the top, 2 goes into the bottom. So I'm going to be able to simplify this. Okay, 6 goes into the top, which is 3 times 2, and 6 goes into the bottom. So 6 goes into the 6 once, and 24. So this simplifies all the way down to 1/4. How about 8% of? Again, of means what? Multiply. And can you rewrite that as a decimal? Of course you can. 0.08, go 2 spots. Don't forget that 0, right? 8% is not 8/10. That's 8 per 10, not 8 per 100, and cent is 100. So I'm going to go multiply 0.08 times 150, which means I'm saying 8 times 150, 40, 8 and 4 is 12. Now I'm going to go back 2 spots because this was really here, and I had to go over 2 spots. 8% of 150 is 12. Okay. Now, how do you write an improper fraction as a mixed number as an improper fraction? This is where you do what's called the C method, right? Watch the C drop from the bottom to the top. Why? Because that's the order I'm going. I'm saying 11 times 5. Why? Because each of those 5s was 11 11s, right? So in order to find out how many 11ths are in 5, I have 5 times 11. That's 55 plus the 3 more. So that's 58 11ths. Okay. And this one, 6 times 3 is 18, plus 2 more is 20 over what? What I started with. 4 times 8 is 32, plus 3, 35 over what? What I started with. Okay. Now here we're going the opposite direction. I'm going from a improper fraction to a mixed number. What do? Divide the bottom into the top. 8 goes into 15 once. And remember, your remainder is going to come on top and be your numerator. What was on the bottom goes on the bottom. Same thing. Okay. 1 7/8. Dividing 3 into 14. That's going to go 4 times. And your remainder becomes your numerator. Your divisor becomes your denominator. That's called the divisor outside there. 4 into 101. I'm just going to go ahead and write 25 there rather than do the steps. I know 4 times 25 is 100. You can do that. And my remainder comes on top, numerator, and the divisor on the bottom. Now, on both of these sets, these 6 problems, you can double check if you want by doing the opposite. All right? If I divide 11 into 58, I'm saying that goes 5 times. 5 times stuff is 55. My remainder is going to go on top. My divisor on the bottom, back where I started. Right? 1 7/8. I'm going to use the C method. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 1 more is, plus 7 more is 15 over what? Back where I started. Okay, so you can double check these if you want. I would probably do that if I was taking a quiz or something. Hint, hint. All right, when you solve this, again, what's your goal? Your goal is to isolate the variable. What does that mean? You're going to put it on an island by itself. When you spell island in English, that S is silent and ISLA are the first 4 letters, and that is also how you write island, isla, in Spanish. So ISLA, all those things remind me what isolate means, right? You're going to put it on an island by itself. I want the J equals and a number on the other side. I want the N equals and a number on the other side. I've isolated the variable, which is getting an answer. Okay. And if there's 2 things happening here, this is 2 times J. So I rewrite it as J times 2 because I want the variable first. You don't have to do that. It just helps me get less confused. And if I'm getting confused, you might be getting confused. The key is to make these as simple as possible. If it means I'm rewriting something, big deal, right? Doesn't take that long. All right, and I'm going to get rid of one thing at a time, okay? So this plus 10 is what I'm getting rid of first, because remember, you're going order of operations, reverse order. So I'm going to get rid of adding and subtracting first. So how do I get rid of a plus 10? Remember what you use? The opposite. What's that called in math? The inverse operation, okay? Say that when you do this. The more you say it, the more you will own that word, okay? Won't trip you up. You'll just immediately, I know what that means, right? So the inverse operation of plus 10, minus 10. But if I subtract 10 from my equation on this side, that was in perfect balance. Now that side's going to be light. It's going to be leaning that way, right? How do I keep my equation in balance? Well, that's where this bracelet comes in, right? DTS, TT, TOS. Do the same thing to the other side. I can do anything to one side. As long as I do the same exact thing to the other, my equation stays in balance. So you say, why did I do that? Well, a plus 10 and a minus 10, they cancel each other out. All right. All that's left on this side is J times 2, and 13 minus 10 is 3. How do I get rid of a times 2? What's the inverse operation or opposite of times 2? Hopefully you said divided by 2, right? But if I do it to this side, don't forget, same thing the other side. And again, you notice that whenever I do the inverse operation on these problems, I grab another pen. I do it in another color ink because I want to see what changed between here and here. Well, I did a minus 10 on each side. What changed between here and the next line? Well, I added a divided by 2 on both sides. It's in balance, okay? So these cancel each other out. All I have to do is figure out what is 3 divided by 2, and that is 1.5 or 1.5 or 3/2. All right, on to that next one. Oh, wait, you're saying, but Mr. Daniel, you said, yeah, don't leave here. If j equals 1 1/2, you should substitute and see if 2 times 1 1/2 plus 10 actually equals 13. You substitute your answer back into the original problem to see if you got it right. Now, 2 times 1 1/2 is 3. 3 plus 10 is 13. So now you can pat yourself on the back, do your end zone dance. Woohoo, cowbell. All right. N times 3 plus 10 equals 25. I'm getting rid of what first? The simplest thing in the problem, right? That's the plus 10. How do you do it? Inverse operation. What's the inverse operation of plus 10? Minus 10. If I do it to this side, same thing to the other side. Okay. Now what happens? Plus 10 minus 10. They're opposites. They attract. They get married and run away together. No, they cancel each other out, right? So now 25 minus 10 is 15. How do I get rid of a times 3? What's the inverse operation or opposite of times 3? Hopefully you're saying divided by 3. And hopefully you're saying, wait, make sure you do it to this side too, right? Okay, times 3 divided by 3. They cancel each other out. I end up with n equals 15 divided by 3. And you guys did that one in your head. And now you're saying, but don't leave till you double check. Substitute, see if that works. 3 times 5. Remember that 3n, that's not going to be 35. 3n means 3 times that. So it's 3 times 5 plus 10. Does that equal 25? Yeah, 3 times 5 is 15. 15 and 10, 25. Boom, you got it. Hey, good luck on your quiz. And don't forget to get some of those con minutes out of the way. Okay. And don't forget, Friday is the last day to get work in to count towards our progress reports, right? It's mid-quarter already. Okay. So spend today, since it's asynchronous, going through Google Classroom and making up any work that you might have missing. All right. And again, you can redo things you got a bad grade on. Okay. All right, just make sure you email me and make sure that I know that you've redone it and resubmitted so I go recreate it. Okay? All right, have a great Wednesday, everybody.